You're listening to the Hawke Media Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and executives crush the digital marketing game. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. Let's get into the show.
All right, you're listening to HawkeTalk. Today I'm here with Metta World Peace. Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So to take it back, before you were a rock star basketball player, entrepreneur, et cetera, like going way back, like did you just come out of the womb, get tossed a basketball and immediately start dunking? Like where did you start? Where'd you grow up?
I was 8 years old when I started. My dad put me on the court.
Okay.
He put me on the basketball court. I just fell in love with it. It was a way to just stay out of trouble. It was a way to stay out of trouble. Absolutely.
Yep. And so you were living in New York, right? Is that where you were born and raised?
New York.
Nice. And so tell me about your parents. Like where were your parents from? What did they do? What made your dad want to put that basketball in your hand?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. My dad wanted to put the basketball in my hands because, I mean, he played basketball and he also was boxing, and he always felt like you should have a place that give an outlet. He always felt like you should have an outlet, and that was, something that was really, that was something where, he felt I would thrive at, and I did.
Yeah, got it. And so when you started, like what was it about being 8 years old? Like, why wasn't it 6 years old? Was there something specific about when you were 8 that made him want to put you into basketball, or was just happen? It was kind of coincidence. Just he had a ball and said, "Let's go play." Yeah,
I think for the most part, it was just courts outside, right? So it's courts outside, and he's like, everybody was playing basketball outside.
Yeah,
everybody was playing basketball. So that was the main thing.
Got it. Awesome. And so were you really good right away? Were 8 years old? Were you just, you pick it up right away? Yeah.
Honestly, my first 2 years was rough. I was always like trying, but I remember my first 2 years being rough. And then it was still rough about the age 11, but I was getting better, but I was getting better and better and better. But it started to get really cool at 13. I was like 12, 13. I was like, okay, I'm starting to roll a little bit, but I still had a lot of work to do.
And from 8 years old to that 12, 13, were you playing all the time, even though you were struggling with it? Were you still like, did you think this, from the moment you got the ball?
I really liked it. I had a great time playing. I really liked it. So I just stuck with it,
Yeah. Well, I think that's so big, like a lot of people will dabble in things. I did it as a kid and tried things out, but even though you, as you just said, weren't that good from 8 to 12 or 13 years old, 4 or 5 years, you still played all the time because you loved it regardless. And then sort of develop those skills. So at what point did you start to go, wow, this could be something I could do professionally? Like when was that hit?
I think, when I was about the age, I would say 15, 16.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, I might be able to do this. When I was like in a junior year in high school, I knew I was going to be a good high school player, but I didn't know about pro. But junior year in high school, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So, okay, junior. And did you win state? Were you winning some tournaments at that point?
I was actually winning before that locally.
Cool.
And then I won the cities in high school. We won 27-0. Mm-hmm. And then AAU with Lamar Odom, Elton Brand, Eric Barkley, Reggie Jesse, a couple of other guys. We won 67-1.
Wow.
With the St.
Who beat you? What was that one loss? Who beat you?
Oh, Baron Davis' team.
There you go. He was on the podcast actually.
He came back and beat his team. He didn't play.
Yeah. Because
he was gone, but we came back and beat his team. But Baron Davis' team, they beat us by 20 points.
Oh, wow. Got it. What a hell of a year for basketball, though, with all you guys playing young guys. That's awesome. Yeah. And so you, did you end up going to college for ball, or did you go straight into the NBA?
I went to college for 2 years, went to St. John's for 2 years, and then I went straight to the NBA.
And when you went to St. John's, was it literally like a stepping stone to go play in the NBA, or were you actually committed? Like, did you pick a degree? Were you going to study and plan on graduating and then continue to pick up? Would love to know more about that part of the path.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to St. John's, I wanted to still do good in school. So I thought I was going to be an architect major. Like all the schools I picked, I went to go visit Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I went to visit Miami of Ohio. I went to visit Miami University. I went to visit Providence and St. John's. Nice. So those were the 5 schools that I chose to visit.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame was the school I probably should have went to. I'm not saying it because I don't like St. John's. I'm saying that because the architect program. So Miami and Notre Dame had the best architect programs.
Yep.
And they was really going to work with me. But St. John's was in New York City. Yep. And that's all I was thinking about was winning the title for St. John's. So I put the architect stuff to the side.
The passion makes sense.
Yeah.
And did you? So, what was it about architecture? I'm curious.
One second. Sorry. 1 second.
Oh, you're fine.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I just made a note to make sure that we can edit it out.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So let me think where we were saying. Oh yeah. So tell me about architecture. What made you want to study that? Was that something that you thought you might end up doing professionally? Like, where'd that come from?
Well, it was a couple of things. One, I wanted to build community centers. So that was the main thing. And I said, I just want to do it myself. I didn't think that, I think I needed it. I saw my community centers and I looked at different places and I'm like, I want to build community centers. And as a kid, I wasn't always great at math, but I was really competitive. So I was failing it. And I remember being like, come on, pass the test. And I remember like not being great, but getting better. But when I got to high school, I thought I was a good math student, but apparently I wasn't. Once again, I was failing, but I put all this effort in loving it.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing well. So then I got better. My first year, I was failing a 60 average for the most part, picked up a little bit. Next year, better and better and better. I sat out 13 games my first year, freshman year of high school. Then by senior year, I had a 95 average my last semester, which I was really happy about, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right, little A. And it took a while. It took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
So when I was math was something I really enjoyed. it. So then when I went to visit the colleges, and I spoke to my mom, I was like, okay, I want to pursue architecture. That's what I want my major to be in. Mm-hmm. So then when I visited Notre Dame, they have a great architect program. I visited Miami, but in St. John's, I was like, hey, I need architects. I said, I can't go to your school if you don't have an architect program. So all the schools was actually working with me. But when St. John's, they actually crafted a great program for me. Great program. Yeah. But it was really hard, man. Like taking those projects to class. You have a project due. You're putting things together, glue, rulers, stuff, book bag. 5:45 a.m. practice. After you got out of practice, you got class. Sweating all over the project. Taking it to the class. Yeah. It was overwhelming to carry this thing after and I'm going hard, so my body is sore. So I just dropped the class, and then I wanted to do something else competitive. So then I did art. So I was doing. I said, okay, I'm gonna pick my major, gonna be art. So I started taking art classes, and then that was the same thing. It was more drawing, but it was still like I had big canvas or white paper, taking it with you, and I got to actually spend so much time. It was so difficult. So then I picked any major, but then I wanted to major in math. I figured that was the reason I was in architecture, was math and whatever. Yep. But then by that time, I wasn't taking it really serious because I already knew I was getting drafted. That was midway through my first year. So I just stopped going to school. But I think it would have been a thing where I would have gotten an architect degree. I don't think I would have been the best student, honestly. I don't think I would have been the best student. But I think I could have probably got it.
Well, your passion was, it sounds like you had a great secondary passion for architecture and math, but your passion was basketball and you were crushing it at that.
Passion was basketball, but I felt like it was definitely necessary that I get an architecture degree. It was something I was thinking about actually now.
Yeah. My business partner actually went back in his 30s and finished his degree because he ended up dropping out and going into business. And he decided, in his 30s, he was like, you know what, I'm going to go back, get it done. And he did night school and got his bachelor degree. There's always, that's always an option. All right. So you get drafted. How old were you? You said sophomore year?
I was sophomore year when I was what?
So you'd be 19. Yeah.
So yes, ended up sophomore year.
Nice. Yeah. And where'd you go first?
Chicago Bulls. Went to the Bulls. It was great. My favorite team growing up. The Knicks was like hometown team, but the Bulls had Michael Jordan, right? Yeah. So when you're dealing with Michael Jordan, it's just like, okay, I love the Knicks, but wow, Michael Jordan is playing, right? Dennis Rodman. I'm like, I'm really conflicted at this point. But
the dynasty, man.
You said what?
The dynasty.
The dynasty, right? But when they did play against the Knicks, I always wanted the Knicks to win. But early on in my career, like early on when I was a fan, I actually wanted the Bulls to win. I wanted the Bulls to win a championship.
Yeah.
But when they played the Knicks, I'm like, how can we make it where the Knicks can win, but the Bulls can still win a championship? Like, how can I was really conflicted.
That's awesome. So how was that going from college into the NBA? Like, I've heard stories, but like, how was that experience? Was it like, oh, wow, this is basketball? Or did you go in pretty ready? Like, how'd you feel when you first stepped on the court?
I mean, when I first stepped on the court, in NBA,
yeah,
I felt like I was going to compete, but I definitely wasn't ready. I wasn't good enough, and I was just like, I wasn't good enough. But I felt like, I wanted to be good. I knew I wasn't good enough, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking about the future.
And did anyone take you under their wing, like be like, hey, I got you, I'm going to show you the ropes? Like, how was it coming in?
Floyd was great. That was my first coach. I remember his defensive practices. I remember those practices. It was tough, but it was fun, man. He was really focused on defense. I really enjoyed it. And I felt like that's where I really learned a lot of my defense.
Yeah.
In the beginning, like a lot of how to really play NBA defense.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the main things you were known for too is being such a fierce defender. So that's awesome. And so that came from training on the Bulls. Yeah,
Tim Floyd had a lot to do with that because I really liked the way he paid attention to detailing. And he had a lot of good concepts on how to guard people. Mm-hmm. How to guard the man. A lot of good concepts that I picked up from him, which was really cool.
That's awesome. And so obviously you're entrepreneurial now. I'm curious, when you first joined the NBA, you start getting endorsement deals thrown at you, you have your NBA contract, et cetera. Did you get into the business side of things at any point? Like, were you watching that? When did you start having an interest? You just
well, when I was 19, I wanted to do my own shoe. And I remember my first agent, Mark Balderstein, my friend, he said, it's going to be about $90,000 to do a mold. I remember that. And then I remember being like, man, I want to figure out how to do a shoe. So I remember wanting to do my shoe from day one.
Yeah.
But when you want to do a shoe as a 19-year-old kid, you never did anything in business. You wasn't even taking school serious, and you never had a business. So how are you going to launch a shoe? Right? How are you going to launch a shoe? So, but with that being said, I was always inspired to do like businesses on my own. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was really easy. I thought you could just get into business. I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm like, okay, I want to do a shoe. I'm in the NBA. Like, I'm going to do a shoe. I'm going to pay for it, and it's going to work.
And did you end up trying it? Did you actually try to launch a shoe?
I never tried to launch a shoe, but I did get with a few companies that was giving me my own shoes. So by the time I got to, I wore Dadas, and Dada was an independent shoe brand, which I wore those. It wasn't my own shoe, but it was independent. It was closer to my own shoe.
Then when you did a deal with them, did you have did your agent or manager help that, or did you just figure out did they just pay you? Did you look for equity?
They just paid, wear the shoe, do some marketing. I don't typically like those deals anymore. I'd rather create your own shoe, create marketing campaign together. But I get it. Also, I had a deal with a company called Kicks, and then I had LA Gear. I had 3 shoes within 3 years. I was trying desperately to get my own shoe because Nike already had, I guess. Kobe was Adidas, I think, at that time.
Or I don't know. Yeah, he went to Nike at one point.
And they had Vince Carter and all these other guys, maybe Garnett and Duncan, all stuff. So I knew I wasn't going to get my own shoe, especially averaging 12 points. But I felt strongly enough that if I had my own shoe, that I'm going to get good and then we're going to sell that shoe.
Yeah.
It could have happened, actually.
Yeah.
It could have happened. Like, I know you guys would have happened. I would have sold a ton of shoes.
Amen. No, definitely. And so how long did you spend in Chicago?
Chicago, I was there 2.5 years, and I got traded in February 2002, February.
And where did you go from there?
I went to Indiana.
You did, because that's when you went and you went from Indiana to LA, right?
Then I went from Indiana to Sacramento.
That's right.
And then I went from Sacramento to Houston, from Houston to Lakers, Lakers to the Knicks.
Yep.
And then I went to
Made it home.
I went back overseas.
Oh, you did?
China and Italy for a year. I went to China and Italy for a year. And then the next 2 years, I went to the Lakers.
Yeah. And I was actually at the game. You hit that game-winning shot in the championships from the corner. That was awesome. I happened to be there. So how was that? I'm always curious. And when you're building up with a team and then every couple years or whatever it is, you're moving around, how is that experience? Is it easy to like just, I know you all know each other, but when you jumped all over, you jumped from Chicago to Indiana to Sacramento to Houston to LA to New York, like, is it hard to get reacquainted with a team, or did you kind of fall right in?
I think it's hard. I mean, it just depends. Like, it depends why a team traded for you, right?
Sure.
A lot of players are different. So if a team trades for you, to produce, they want you. A lot of teams make trades because they feel you can help them win versus they want you around for a long time. Some you just never know. Like for me, I can speak for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish I would have stayed in Indiana. This is the reason, because when a player's when a player's on a team, you want to show that you have some staying power. You want to show that you're stable, right? You don't want to show like you want to be traded. Now, there's different reasons you'll be traded, because you could be playing well and a team trade you. I think that's fine. What I don't think is fine is if a player is trying to force a trade. Like me, I was trying to force trades because I wasn't happy about silly stuff. It wasn't like I wasn't happy because, I wasn't harassed. The city treated me well, they're paying me well, right? So I felt like the reasons I wanted to leave Indiana, it just wasn't, I can't justify these reasons.
Yeah, got it.
So I would advise players, like if a team is paying you, like, maybe behind closed doors is better, but in the media, you don't want to be talking like I was in the media. I'm like, I want to be traded. I don't like it here, right?
Got it.
And I feel like that was very unprofessional.
Well, yeah, and when you're young and on top of the world, like I remember when LeBron did the whole thing with Miami and leaving Cleveland, where he turned it into a whole spectacle. It's like when you're young and excited and on top of the world, it's hard to recognize that, to be humble. And I think as you get older, many things humble you, and you realize like it's good to treat everyone around you well. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you went overseas, then back to the Lakers, and then retired. Is that the path?
I went overseas, back to the Lakers, and I never retired officially. I never really officially retired.
Got it.
The reason was because I think I love the game so much. I wanted to do 20 years, so I never really officially retired.
Got it. Awesome. And so on that note, when did you start truly getting into the entrepreneurial stuff? Now I know you've built a bunch of cool brands and things like that. When did you start sort of fulfilling the dream of starting your shoe line? I know you didn't build the shoe, but when did you start getting into that with the entrepreneurship side?
I think I would say, well, the whole time, man. The whole time I was in the league in Indiana, I was doing an album.
Uh-huh.
My goal with the album was, I think my objective was wrong. I did want to perform. I knew I wanted to perform on stage, and I knew I wanted to be like a couple artists that's from my neighborhood.
Yeah. But
I didn't, and then I also, I had a story, but I don't think the objectives was lined up. When you become an artist, you put so much money into music, which is kind of opposite. You got to actually build a fan base first and different things. So but I wanted to make it a business, So that was something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed, having albums and different things. And then, so that was in Indiana. And then the shoe, I had the K1X shoe. I had the LA Gear shoe. I had those two shoes, and that was pretty cool. And then I got to Sacramento, and then I was doing I still had my K1X shoe in Sacramento, but I was trying to do different things. I actually still had the album in Sacramento. So I was still doing music.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but I kind of, with the music, I think I was coming at it from a place. It just wasn't a good place where I was coming at it from, but I really did enjoy it. Awesome. And then when I got to the Lake Houston, I think I had my own. I didn't have my. Oh yeah, I had Peaks. I had another shoe company that I was working with called Peak, and then when I got to the Lakers, was when I revisited doing the shoes, and I was working with a guy. I actually turned down the contract. Kobe got me an opportunity to get a contract from Nike. It was a nice contract. It was like maybe 2.4, 700 for 700 something for 4 years, like 4 year. It was the most I ever got because when I got suspended, I lost every deal. But I turned it down for an Army vet named Rodney Jeter. He had a company called Ballin'. I took $75,000 from him just to try to help him because I felt like I wanted to be a part of something different.
Yeah.
The shoe was great, but we didn't have enough power behind us to
right.
How you gonna market the shoe? How you gonna sell a consumer? But I thought it was a good deed. And then I had the Panda Friend shoes, which was another company called Mercury. They made my own shoe. The same company that made Ballins, they made my own shoe. And those shoes, actually, that was the first time I actually sold shoes. I didn't think I was gonna sell that many. Yeah. We put the shoes on the market. We sell 100 shoes like in one day or something. And I didn't have no shoes. I had to give everybody back their money.
Yeah.
I didn't have no shoes. I only had, I thought I could do like drop ship on demand, buy the shoes, and then just sell it because I didn't want a lot of inventory. So I said, I'll just give back the money. It was great, but I wasn't prepared to get inventory and then to a staff. So I just kind of let that go. But it was definitely, that was the closest I was, to selling shoes. But I think at that time I was 20, I was 29, maybe 30. And at that time I didn't have the team to execute it. And I realized that. So I just shut it down.
Yeah.
And then I had the Panda Friend brand. The Panda Friend brand, the actual shirts did well.
Yeah.
We did 1 month, we did 55K 1 month.
Nice.
And it was nice.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a good month, but I didn't really push it that much because I didn't want to just keep dumping money into the brand. And it was all organic, but I wasn't, that was like 2014.
Sure.
But I wasn't really tracking metrics and data and at that time.
I haven't learned it yet.
14.
So I'm curious, going back, because you mentioned it, the suspension, which I remember it a little bit, but don't know a lot. I remember someone threw a can of soda at you, right? Or a cup of soda, and you ran up into the crowd, went after him, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, we don't have to go too deep into it, but were you just on edge that day? Or was it just like, was there another reason for it? Or was it just like, screw this guy, he threw something at me, I'm going to go get him?
That was the only reason.
Figured. And hey, I don't fault you for it. I remember seeing him being like, it was the wrong guy, but still it was.
It actually wasn't. It
wasn't.
I'll tell you why it wasn't. So a lot of people think that. I don't mean to get back into the story.
No, please. Yeah.
So the guy, when I got hit and I seen him raise his hand, you could watch the film or whoever's watching, watch the film. And then when he raised his hand, I thought he hit me because he raised his hand like this.
Yep.
So when I seen that and I got hit and he was smiling, I'm like, the game is not going on. Nobody's cheering. Ben Wallace didn't hit me, or we're just there. We're just sitting there and just like waiting for this chaos to go away. So I ran in that direction and I was just like pushing him and shaking him like, why did you hit me? Why did you hit me? Why did you hit me? So then years later, when I reached out to the person who hit me to kind of make amends, John Green is his name, good, fun guy. Yeah. When I reached out to him, he told me the story. And the story was the guy that raised his hand bet John Green $50 that he couldn't hit me with a cup of beer. It was a $50 bet. That's the story. So people don't understand that was the guy who made the bet.
Got it. So it's the guy that egged his friend on.
Yeah, and it's okay because honestly, that fight was between me and those two guys.
Yeah.
But it really had nothing to do with everybody, but it was in a business setting, so it kind of did. Sponsors. But when you think about it, the sponsors didn't hit me.
Yeah.
The Detroit Pistons didn't hit me. Ben Wallace didn't even. He did, but that was on a court, like whatever. Yeah. It was just two guys. They were just. And you want to know something? Things happen in life, and it happens, man. It happens, and I lost a ton of cash that year. I lost $6 million that year.
Oh wow! Is that all in endorsement deals or from NBA too?
That was a contract. Then I lost every deal I had. The next day was gone.
Yeah,
my LA deal, Carl Jr.'s, everything gone, and then I never recovered from no more deals after that.
Ever?
No.
Wow, got it. That's crazy because I feel like brands is a marketer. Brands tend to be they're oversensitive to this stuff where it's like. Yeah, I don't know that anybody looked at you they didn't have this huge crowd that's like, it didn't blow up except for the way they made it blow up. So that's weird that go that way.
I didn't get discouraged. I said, you know what, this is a part of life.
Yeah.
And even after I lost all that money, and then even future revenue, because at that time I was, anybody that's got Defensive Player of the Year and is all team NBA,
yeah,
that's a multi-million-dollar deal.
Yeah.
I've never, well, I signed multi-million-dollar deals, but not like the deals that people was getting Defensive Player of the Years were getting.
Right. Or
if you got like all first team all NBA and you're an all-star, I was getting mid-level deals. Both my deals, mid-level deals, which, I'm like, okay, I'm okay, But I was really discouraged about that right at that time. Like, I see people that was never all-stars getting more contracts than me.
Yeah.
Right? But I also knew because I was detrimental to the team. It was a bunch of stuff. So it was okay. Things happen in life and
totally.
It happens. It's cool.
And so I'm curious, what led to you wanting to change your name? Where did that come from?
I mean, it was just like wanting to set my own pace, set my own identity. And that was it. Like,
sure.
You can change your own name legally. Certain things you can do legally, and just I wanted to do it. It was something that was cool, and it was something that was not against the law, and it's something that you can do, and so I just did it. No,
I get that. Nice. So, and when's the last time you played a game? When was the last NBA game for you?
My last NBA game, it was definitely in April because we didn't go to the playoffs with the Lakers. And my last game was actually at Golden State.
Was it?
But my last game at Staples Center, I had 18 in the second half. That's a big day for me because I had 18 in the second half. I remember it. I had a great time, and I'm really happy with it.
And what year was that?
That was 2017. I guess I thought I started in 2016, but maybe it's 2017. But and then the next game we go to Golden State, and I'm like, I'm going to get about 20 tonight. And I didn't play. I was like, I only got like maybe 10 minutes. It's my last game of my career. Like, give me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was okay.
Yeah. Still, your career was awesome. And so when you, since then, you've been building a few different brands. Like, when you left, was it like, I'm taking a break, I'm taking a breath, or did you dive right into this other stuff that you've been working on?
Well, when I retired the first day, I was a little bit nervous. Like, dang, what am I gonna do? I want to be a head coach. I wanted the head coach right away, like right away. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it, but some people was telling me that's probably not gonna happen. I'm like, okay, that's probably not gonna happen. So then I was saying that I went back to school.
Yeah.
I woke up the next day. I was like discouraged. So I called UCLA. I made my own phone calls. I called the coding department. I took some tests because I had to take a test to get into coding into the program.
Yeah.
Failed the test. I don't know how I failed the test, man. I took it twice. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how did I fail it? So I wanted to get into the coding program, but I didn't. So then I got into the digital marketing at UCLA. I got into social media class, and I got into digital analytics. Uh-huh. Social media, it was 3 classes: social media, digital analytics, and another class. I forget what it was. And then in Concordia, I got into I took one class in Concordia on business analytics.
Yeah.
And then I did Google Analytics, and I took a course in Vancouver for Google Analytics. Because I was just trying to figure out, like, one of the things I wanted to do was continue to be in commerce.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I wasn't prepared to pay marketers because if I want to launch a company or a brand, I got to pay someone.
Yeah.
If I don't really know what brand I want to launch, I didn't want to test marketing dollars on a brand I don't even know if I want to do. I wanted to test multiple things. So that's why I had to figure it out. And then eventually, I was always interested in digital agencies. Like, I met you guys. I met Meet Sticks. I met Audience X. I was just meeting so many different people. I actually went to y'all office.
Yeah.
And I was actually having a great time at y'all office because it's like, I'm like, this is so exciting.
I remember that. That was fun.
It was fun, man. I had a great time. Like, just people don't understand, like, being in your office, it's opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling because that's what I want to be around.
Yeah.
I want to be around that those type of people that is doing marketing because I love marketing. But so I was just trying to figure out, how do you talk to digital ad agencies? How do you talk to people? How do you figure it out? What type of decisions should you be making? And it was really interesting to me. And when I left the NBA, I was going to it was a couple things I was going to do, and I was going to take it serious.
Yeah.
It was rapping.
Yeah.
It was coaching.
Yeah.
I was getting my Series 7.
Oh, wow. Nice. Did you get your Series 7?
No, I was laying it all.
Oh, you're going to do it? Yeah, I got it.
So I tested out everything. I coached for the G League, the Lakers.
Uh-huh.
I prepared for the Series 7.
Yeah.
I did the classes. I went to UCLA, did all the classes, and the other one was rapping, right? And I was like, I don't want to rap anymore. That one was quick. I was like, I don't feel like going on tour.
Yeah.
I don't want to be having to, because I know if I get out, I'm gonna be drinking, partying all night, studio, 16 hours. It's a lot of work, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
Even though I love it, so I took that one out. Then the Series 7, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, this one, I'm not about to do this one.
Yeah.
And then in coaching, that was fun.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to be on my own schedule. And with coaching, you got to be all the way in.
Yeah.
So I always can go back to coaching.
Yep.
So that was like kind of the evolution.
Makes sense. And so where are you at now? Tell me about like what's going on in your world now. Kind of where do you see this going? I know you've built some digital brands. Like, give me the overview.
Yeah. I think for the most part, I think I love the building, like, let's just say it's an app. Facebook is an app, but it's a company,
right?
More than an app, right? So I like the fact that I'm understanding how to add tangibility to an app, build a business behind the app, build partnerships and sponsorships behind the app.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
So you like the business development side?
Yeah, I really like it. I like it. The startup it's something that I told myself, I said, you got to go all the way in and you have to really be focused, and things don't go your way in a startup all the time.
No,
they don't go
most of the time.
So many different things that be going on. It's just like, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's
a fun challenge though. I mean, if you're used to grinding, it's like one of those things that, like, even if most things fail, when those few things succeed, it's so rewarding. It can be fun.
Yeah. So, but it's really, it's been sometimes I'm like, do you love it? Is it a hobby? Because it's not work, because work means you're working for someone or you have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily work. It's definitely fun, but it's also stressful. You know what I'm saying? It's still, it's still a lot of frustration at times, good days, bad days, which, you gotta accept it.
Yeah. Makes sense. And so last question for me, man, what would you give the advice to someone that admires you, that's looking to either, whether it's to be a professional basketball player or just pursue their dreams in general? What do you think is the one thing they should do, the one piece of advice you'd give to that young person or that older person, someone that's making a career change? I mean, you've gone from, you literally left the NBA and went back to college. Like, you changed careers. Like, so what would be that piece of advice you'd give to someone that wants to pursue those dreams?
I would say, if you want to pursue something, try your best to have an objective. Try your best to, if you're not accomplishing what you want on a day-to-day basis, like, I would say, ask yourself questions like, why have I not accomplished this? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
You'll figure out, how you can use a network, build a network, start to come up with solutions. And a lot of the solutions are reaching out to people.
Yep.
Yeah,
not being afraid to reach out is a big one.
Yeah, man. It's like, that's something I was never really big on that, but recently I have. And then being around people who's doing the same things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's so much time, so I found myself learning so much. People are like, oh, you're so smart, but that's not true. I'm just around different people, I'm talking to Hawke Media.
I feel the same way, by the way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm talking to Hawke Media and you're not, just the conversation that we have, I learned something because they told me. I didn't make it up. I don't know how to do a Facebook ad or YouTube ad. I learned something. So it's not that I'm smarter than you. It's that I was talking to someone or the type of person that you never met, that you never talked to.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? And so that's what I've been trying to surround myself with, people who I just genuinely like, to be around, because there's so much time. I got my kids, and then you got your life.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't have much time to do a bunch of other things.
Yeah, no, I agree. It makes it more valuable when you pick those people. So that's awesome. Well, Metta, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on HawkeTalk.
Love it. Thanks for having me, Hawke.
You've been listening to the Hawke Media Podcast. To ensure that you never miss an episode, make sure to subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.